The boy didn't raise his voice. He didn't point. He didn't panic. He leaned closer and spoke so quietly it almost blended into the street noise. "That car's been watching the kids for a while." The biker didn't answer right away. He kept his eyes forward, like he hadn't heard anything at all. But the way his jaw tightened said he had. The afternoon had been ordinary. A few blocks from a community center, kids were playing on the cracked sidewalk. Some rode scooters. Others chased a ball that never stayed in bounds. Parents talked nearby, half paying attention the way you do when nothing feels dangerous. The sunlight fell in irregular patches through overhanging trees, painting the cracked concrete in a warm, uneven pattern. The boy stood near a bus stop bench. Thin jacket, shoes a size too big. He'd been there most days, invisible enough that people stopped noticing him. He wasn't begging. He wasn't asking for anything. He just watched, and that was why he noticed the car. It was parked across the street. Engine off. Dark windows. Nothing illegal about it. Cars sit on streets all the time, but this one hadn't moved in over an hour. Every few minutes, the driver's side window lowered just enough to catch sound. Then it rolled back up. The pattern was subtle, but repetition made it noticeable. The boy had seen enough life to know when something felt off. He didn't know what the right thing to do was. He just knew he couldn't ignore it. The biker he chose wasn't wearing patches loudly. No revving engine. No show. He was older, sitting on his bike with one boot on the ground, talking quietly with two other riders who'd stopped nearby. To most people, they probably looked intimidating. To the boy, they looked alert. There was something about their posture, the way they scanned the street, that felt careful, controlled, not showy. When the boy whispered, the biker finally turned his head. Just slightly. "How long?" he asked. "Since before the kids came out," the boy said. "It keeps facing them." The biker nodded once, not as a gesture of agreement, but acknowledgement. Then he reached into his pocket and sent a single text. His hands were steady, precise. Across town, phones began to buzz. Within 10 minutes, 3 more bikes rolled in. They didn't park together. They spread out. One across the street, one near the corner store, another slowly circling the block like he was just passing through. Each rider moved with a quiet purpose. No revving engines, no unnecessary attention, just presence. No one stared at the car. No one approached it. Nothing dramatic happened. That was the point. The man inside the car noticed anyway. People who watch learn to recognize when they're being watched back. The engine turned over. The car pulled away slowly, trying not to look like it was leaving because of anything. One of the bikers followed at a distance. Not close, just enough. The car didn't come back. The kids kept playing. Parents kept talking. Most of them never realized anything had been wrong in the first place. The boy sat back down on the bench. He pulled his jacket tighter around him, feeling the chill that had crept in as shadows grew longer. The city sounds were normal again. Distant horns, laughter, the scuff of sneakers, but he felt a subtle calm, a sense of protection he hadn't felt before. The biker walked over and handed him a bottle of water. Didn't say, "Good job." Didn't make a big deal of it. "You did the right thing," he said quietly. "Always say something." The boy nodded. He wasn't smiling. He just looked relieved. Relief that was slow to sink in, but real. What the boy didn't know was that the biker he spoke to wasn't riding alone that day by coincidence. Several members of the Hells Angels were passing through the area for a charity ride later that evening. They'd stopped early, took a break, chose that street without knowing why. And now they did. Word spread quickly among them the way it always does. Not with panic, with purpose. They didn't discuss the car much after it left. What they talked about instead was the boy. "Anyone know him?" one asked. "No," another said, "but he's out here a lot." That night, after the charity event wrapped up, a few of them came back. Not in formation, not as a show, just bikes pulling up one by one. The rumble was low, measured, not startling. They brought food, nothing fancy. Burgers, fries, a blanket. Someone offered a hoodie. Simple things, but each one deliberate, considerate. The boy was confused at first, suspicious. He'd learned that free things usually came with strings. "There aren't any," the biker told him. "Just eating." They sat with him on the curb, asked his name, asked how long he'd been on the street, asked where he slept. No one asked questions they didn't want the answers to. The boy told them about the shelter that was always full, about the nights he stayed awake because sleeping felt unsafe, about how you learn to listen differently when you don't have a door to lock. No one interrupted him. Over the next few days, the bikers kept showing up. Not all of them, just a few at a time. One brought socks, another brought a prepaid phone, someone else brought information, names of people who actually answered when you called, not just numbers that rang forever. They didn't promise anything they couldn't deliver. The boy didn't trust it at first. People disappeared all the time. Help came and went. He'd learned not to expect consistency. Then a week passed. They were still there. One afternoon, a woman arrived with them. Not a biker. She worked with a local outreach group. She talked to the boy like he mattered, not like a project. She explained options without pushing, asked permission before asking questions. The bikers stood back, let her do her job. When the boy agreed to go with her to check out a transitional program, one of the bikers drove behind them the whole way. Not because he had to, because he said he would. The streets were quiet, except for the occasional hum of a distant truck. They moved slowly, calmly. The program wasn't perfect. Nothing ever is. But it was clean. It was safe. It had rules that made sense. And it had adults who noticed when kids went quiet. The boy stayed. Weeks later, the same street looked the same as it always had. Kids playing. Parents distracted. Cars coming and going. But there was one difference. The car with the dark windows never came back. Neither did the boy. Months passed. Seasons changed. Life moved forward. Then one morning, a letter arrived at the clubhouse. No return address. Just a short note inside. Thanked them, not for saving a life, not for being heroes, for listening, for believing a kid no one else paid attention to, for showing him that sometimes when you speak up, someone actually hears you. The biker who'd been there that first day read it quietly, folded it, put it in his pocket. He didn't show it to anyone. Some stories aren't meant to be told loudly. They don't need headlines. They don't end with applause. They live in small moments. A whisper, a pause, a choice to act without making it about yourself. The boy didn't change the world that day. He didn't stop something big and obvious. He just noticed. And a group of people most folks cross the street to avoid proved something simple and rare. Sometimes protection doesn't look like uniforms or flashing lights. Sometimes it looks like listening to the quietest voice in the room and deciding it matters.